All right, everyone, welcome back to the Mediaverse Studios podcast. We have Ben Mayer. I've been screwing up his name all evening. I apologize. Ben is an actor, and he's also making his producing debut this weekend on our short film, Alien Lost Transmission. Ben, how are you doing today, man?
Doing great. It's been a busy few months for me, and it's all culminating into this weekend, and I'm excited to finally hop to it because it's been a long time coming, and put a lot of work into this, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're ready. We're excited to be here, and thank you for having me on the podcast and for
Yeah, man.
letting us make our silly little film here
Yeah,
because it'll be fun.
yeah. Well, I want to get right into it. It's like just a short walk down the film alley. We have an amazing new spaceship set,
Mm.
thanks to you and Connor as well, putting it together in our old helicopter cargo. You guys created
Mm.
a spaceship derelict cargo hold,
Yeah, who knows? You know.
and we're just so thrilled to shoot in there. So tell me about the work you've been doing for this project. About.
Who? Okay. Where to start? So, Connor Botts, our writer, director, cinematographer, you have to when you're working in the Iowa film industry, you kind of have to wear a lot of hats, and so we're kind of the epitome of that with this upcoming film. And so I had reached out to him. Oh my gosh, like I mean, back in June, because June or whenever Inquisition dropped, Star Wars Inquisition is another project he did, and which yours truly, meaning him, not me, was one of the stars of. So check it out. I saw him. He dropped that, and it looks incredible. And I was like, I'm a huge nerd, dude. If you need, I don't do this often, but if you need an actor or a PA, whatever, to help you, let me know. And he's like, heck yeah, dude. I would love to work with you sometime. I've seen your stuff, and you've been on my radar, so I'll just stay tuned. And like a month or two later, he kind of out of the blue just hit me up and was like, hey, Romulus just came out. Alien Romulus just came out. I loved it and inspired me to write this film. Do you want to? I thought you would be great as the main actor. You want to hop in? And I was like, heck yeah, I do. That sounds great. Um, and so I was originally just cast as the main character, and it was just him and I working on this, like from the beginning. And we kind of started bouncing ideas back and forth off each other. He was asking me questions about things, and eventually it got to the point where I was without really meaning to, we were just kind of coordinating all the things. We were really talking about like who we would want to DP, who we would want to AD. Like we are getting edits done on the stuff, and he's like, I can't remember how it panned out, but basically it was something along the lines of like, oh yeah, by the way, I just kind of have you as an executive producer on this. Is that okay? And I was like, oh, I sure, that sounds
Yeah,
great. Like
you're doing the work
I'm
already.
done. I feel yeah. I was like, if that's what this is, then sure, it sounds great. Feels good. It feels good. Um, so I put my big boy pants on and was like, all right, I get to be a big boss now. And
Hell yeah.
so I not really, but yeah, from there we started really getting into the thick of it, and we kind of filled out. He was already planning on being the director and cinematographer and like the whole shebang. So we were getting our sound and we were figuring out casting our actors because the point of the film is to Connor will tell you this. He wanted to make a film that was shot in a confined space, so there was so you feel that sort of claustrophobia of the situation, and he wanted it to be an alien film, but he didn't want it to be like solely focused on the alien. He wanted it to be focused on the actors and the story that they tell, and think about how they would get themselves out of that situation and what kind of emotion that brings, and then have a payoff of something. You'll just have to see. So with that, we filled out our cast. We got again this gentleman here, this lovely bearded man, will be in the film, and we have another actress named Gabriela Fuentes who is co-starring alongside us. So it's just the three of us, and the biggest question was, okay, how do we make this? If you've seen the Alien movies, you know that those sets are incredible. I mean, specifically Alien, like the practicals that go into that film are ridiculous. And uh, our friend Malcolm, who was just on the previous episode, I was like, man, I would love to know how they did that. And he was like, hey, that's what happens when you have millions of dollars. And I was like, that's a great point. But how do we the question we were asking ourselves at the beginning was, how do we make that happen here in Iowa,
Yeah.
right? And so he worked on a film of yours called Crimson Night, and you guys had an Osprey,
Yes.
set that was for the hangar and a helicopter, and so it looked just like it, but it was not as sci-fi as we would have liked,
Mhm.
and so we were planning on doing some stuff to it, but the hype of this film was kind of starting to spread through the people we would tell about it, and he actually uh, either linked up or knew a gentleman who like his hobby is buying like film accurate costumes and props, and like that is his thing.
Jared Keller, by the
Yes,
way.
that's his name, Jared Keller. I was like, I know his name's Jared. I
He's
think his last name is Keller, but
he's a maker. Like he does
oh yeah, there you go.
3D printing and costume design and set prop making and all kinds of crazy wiring and
He
projects and stuff. He's basically an engineer.
Yeah,
But
he's phenomenal. So if you ever if you're local to Iowa or just generally want to reach out, he's amazing. So um, he knew a guy who could CNC cut things, which is where you take lasers and you cut usually metal and stuff. Woo. Um, so he had gotten some high density styrofoam, and he got some CNC a guy to cut that, and so he just kind of he was we brought him down to the set to have him help us put some stuff together, and he shows up with like a U-Haul and all of these panels of styrofoam, and we were like, oh, this is a totally different beast now.
yeah,
This is next level. And so that was just like the beginning of the insight to show us just how passionate the fan base is, as even just Malcolm alluded to for himself. Like that's what got him into filmmaking. And so in a similar way, anyone who's kind of had their hands on this project did it because they are super passionate about the franchise, which was something I wasn't as aware of when I first came onto the project, because I didn't know much about Alien. I just love sci-fi in general, so I'm like,
yeah.
nerd stuff, okay, done. Um, but yeah, that was kind of the beginning of just how far we were willing to take it, and it was really to keep someone would raise the bar by doing something incredible, and then we'd be like, okay, we have to match that, and then we would raise the bar, and then they would catch up, and like back, it just kept going. So um, a big part of that too was I'm like a groundskeeper, a handyman in my day job. So I work with power tools, and I do a lot of carpentry and craftsmanship and just things like that. And so I was able to use those resources to build the set. So we were asking people for wiring, and we were going to Lowe's and buying like chains and uh, cabling and brackets and like all this stuff just to give it that sort of ambiance that you get from different set pieces in Alien, Um, so we also were it was very important to us to get that feedback from the community, specifically like the diehard Alien fans, because like the one thing that's going to kill your fan film is if you make a fan film that's not at least somewhat lore accurate.
Yeah.
So we put a lot of effort into um, making sure that the things that we include for details are some things that are not going to seem out of place and um, are jarring to the fan base, and we listen to them. So they've been so kind, which is rare for the internet. But they'll see our stuff and they're like, A, this looks dope. B, where are the wet chains? And we're like, that's a great point. Let's add some chains. And so, we then do our due diligence, and it, to their credit, it brings it to a whole nother level, and we're like, damn, why didn't we do this at the beginning? So that's a long way to describe it, but we've been putting, specifically this month, now that we're more available due to various other projects that I've been working on and he's been working on, we come down just about every weekend, and we have every weekend, and have been adding details, whether it's taking a silver Sharpie and going along the edges of all the styrofoam panels to make it look like it's scuffed up,
Mhm.
taking spray paint and spray painting the floor so it looks like a catwalk. Goodness, like the details, we have it all set up, but like if Connor and I had a bajillion dollars and more patience, we would be like, let's do more. But we're ready to get this thing done because
It
it's
looks
exciting.
it looks amazing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it looks absolutely. I I would come down every now and then when you guys were down here and see you all working, and it was incredible to see. This is exactly what we created Mediaverse Studios to do: is to have crews come in and build their dream set here. That's exactly what we wanted this for. And so you guys, thank you very much for doing it that way. And two, just the insane amount of detail, and like details that may not even get caught on camera, they're there. Like if you're looking for the little like Wayland Yutani sticker that is in all of the alien sets or something, like it's there. Like you
Yeah.
guys paid attention and you're doing it the right way, I would say. Yeah, and it was amazing that you got such great feedback from the fan base.
Yeah, yeah. And
Amazing.
and the thing that we were really proud of is that and this is something just for the community if you're looking to make your own films, cuz like Malcolm alluded to in the previous episode, like the best way to get experience is just do it. And especially in the market that we're in, like it's not, you don't have these big producers, you don't have these big, huge production companies. You have like smaller ones that are just starting, or you're making your own indie film and you're doing crowdsourcing and that sort of thing. The best way to just do it, or to get that experience, is just do it. And if you have a passion for it, you can take a set or really any facet of making a film, and the work you put in is the work you're going to get out of it. So for us, it was a net positive thing where we're putting in all these hours and being really specific and getting that feedback and capitalizing on that feedback, and it just every time it was a surprise, but in some ways not a surprise that it would always come to, and we'd get done for the weekend and be a whole nother level. So like you have to be you have to be okay with taking that chance and just doing it. And you might think like, oh, they'll totally tell it's a homemade set. That's not a $1 million set that some professional who's has 30 degrees uh, built and designed on with in CAD and stuff. It's just like, no, this is. We were like, oh, it'd be cool if we had this here. Like, let's see what it looks like. And you put it up, and you're like, ooh, that was actually bad. Let's pivot and stuff. And another big thing that, at least for me, because I grew up doing theater and stuff and helping build sets for them, and everything in a theater on a stage has a purpose. Like there has to be a reason that this thing is here, and like what does this serve for? Not even necessarily the direct narrative. Like what does it serve for the overall feel of the show, the vibe you're trying to put.
Hmm.
And so a big question I was always asking is like, does that make sense? Like having a chain there, having a strap here, does that make sense? Like would a pipe be sticking out of here to go to this certain place? Like what would that serve? And if the answer was like nothing, or it wouldn't work, or that's not feasible, then it's like, why would we have it? Like I don't want the thing that, like, having someone watch the thing and say, ah, that doesn't make any sense. That's just a random thing.
Right.
That was a big thing, and I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
So
It's not just aesthetic; there's an intention behind all of
yeah,
it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because you should treat it like it's a functional thing. Like if it were me in the alien world, like I would want to be like, oh, this room was absolutely for cargo
Hmm.
because of this, and this. So having that intentionality behind it will take what you might think is a very lo-fi set, right? One that you try and spend as little money on, and it will take it to a whole nother level because that intentionality reads as legit.
Right.
So that's like a huge thing, I think. So just don't be afraid to just do it. Just do it, and if you have fun and are intentional with your choices, it's gonna play, it's gonna read. So
I love that.
yeah.
Hell yeah. So tell me about some of your come up. Where are you from, and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah. So I'm from Iowa, as you've alluded to. I grew up north of Cedar Rapids, out in the sticks by the Cedar River. So I grew up, out in the boonies, just romping around. Phrase that was regularly said around our house because I'm a nerd. I love video games, and we would read all the time. But kind of the classic phrase was "Go blow the stink off." So we would be outside playing kind of all the time. Um, and it really is like a classic tale, probably one you've heard a bajillion times from every schmuck in the acting world. But uh, and I mean that with love. I say things like that. I call people nerds and schmucks and things. I mean it with love. They always start in theater. Like it's always like, oh, I did the church play, and then I did musicals in middle school, and like that was me. So I would do. I start off doing church plays, and I was like, this is fun. I love playing pretend and imagining things and maybe playing with your imagination. Uh, And so then I did plays and musicals in middle school and really enjoyed it. And I'd always said I wanted to be an actor, but like you hear the crazy success stories that are just kind of like, really not lucky, but it's just like a once in a blue moon thing that someone from the Midwest or Iowa becomes big. Like
Right.
the big ones in Iowa, at least of our generation, is like Ashton Kutcher and Elijah Wood and like
Yeah,
those names,
for sure.
and like those are the only ones. And so like your chances of that just are not as apparent, if you will. So it truly was like it was just fun. That was the big thing, and that's still my philosophy, which I'll kind of get into. But um, and then getting older and getting into high school, still doing plays and musicals and just doing those extracurriculars like that. Um, it was always because it was fun. Like, yes, my friends did some of it too, and I made those friends from doing theater. But it was always just the fun of play, like just playing around and stepping outside of the kind of mundane life that I lived. Like, it's small town Iowa, your hangout spot was, for us, it was a McDonald's. We called it the Travel Plaza because it was a McDonald's on one side, a gas station in the middle, and a Subway on the other side. So the Travel Plaza, the TP.
Awesome.
So yeah, after our performance, I say like, hey, let's go to McDonald's, hang out. So like, it's not the most electric lifestyle. So any chance that I got to step out of that and like be in, that's not to say I didn't love my upbringing. I loved it. It was great. But any chance I had to step out of that and like play in this world and imagine it, it was just like so much fun. And I kind of put my whole self into it. I know it sounds corny, but like that's how you transport yourself into that other world, is you just like totally allow for that to just happen. And so
Hmm.
did that, and then went to college and was still kind of in the mindset of like, it's just fun, so I'll keep doing it as an extracurricular to stay, social and do things like that. But again, especially when you mature and you become an adult, you're like, it's just like, it's not a very feasible thing in Iowa. Like, it just isn't. Um, as far as making a living off of it, you
Sure.
can do it, but
Yeah.
it's just less feasible. So I was like, so instead, I'll pick the very reasonable and feasible option and do anthropology for my degree.
Nice.
uh, which notoriously you need at least an upper level degree for it.
Mhm.
But again, that's not to say I didn't love it. I love that degree. I love anthropology and archaeology, and I was like dead set on being an archaeologist. Um, but when I was gonna go do field school, which is your necessary internship, you have to do field experience for archaeology, and that'll help you get into master's programs. It'll help you, just move much further in your career. That's when COVID hit, and so the trip that I had was supposed to go on was going to be to Tanzania, and that got nixed. And so I was like, man, I don't know if this is feasible right now. I would still totally do it in the future, but like, I'm kind of ready to just live like just an adult. Um, have a job, not have homework to worry about. And this is coming from a guy who loves school. Um, so I was just ready to change it up. And so when I did, I was like, you know what? Maybe, and this was like halfway through my college career when I kind of made that decision. I was like, I act, and people tell me I'm at least okay. I might as well see if I can make a few bucks while doing it. Like, that wouldn't hurt. It still is fun. Like, that's the main reason I would do it, because they would just switch it up, and it's not doing theater; it's on camera, which would be cool. And so I signed. I tried to get an agent in Des Moines. I didn't get accepted right off the bat, so I readjusted my resume, took some more headshots, resubmitted like a couple months later, and it's like, yeah, cool. We'll bring you on. And
Hmm.
from there, it was the occasional commercial, because I play younger. I just look like I'm a high schooler. So and by the way, we're in Iowa. That's not really the demographic in Iowa. It's a little bit on the upper end of the spectrum in the age. So there are let's just put it this way, not too many insurance commercials cater to my audience. You know what I mean? So it was very occasional and just here and there. Um, and then what really got me started in the narrative space was, as alluded to in the previous uh,
Mhm.
episode, we have a 48-hour film uh, festival that happens in Des Moines. And in 2022, they introduced a second 48 Film Festival, which was the Horror Film Festival, and that was in October. And so, a friend of mine, Allison O'Hara from college, who I did a play with, she's a director and filmmaker, and I saw her post something like, "Oh, I'm doing a 48. It's gonna be great. I'm super excited." Uh, and I think I'm pretty sure I reached out and was like, "Hey, I would love to help you. Like, it seems really fun, even if it's just like behind the camera. It'd be cool. It seems like it's gonna be fun." She's like, "Oh, well, you can just act." And I was like, "Okay, yeah. I don't know how this works." I was like, "Let's do it, sure." And so that was my first narrative project, and it was called Operation. Uh, we got, what was it? I think we ended up picking, because you get two genres, and I think we ended up, I can't remember what our other one was, but we ended up picking gore.
Gore film.
Yeah, I think gore is what it
I
was.
remember it being bloody.
Oh, it was pretty bloody. I mean, it wasn't obscene, but it was pretty graphic.
It was
Um,
awesome.
it was
It was an incredible film.
to this day, I think, like, if the impossible happens and I become this, like, if I become really successful, I'll still probably say that was like one of my favorite sets to ever do. Like, it was just so fun, and she's got such a good vision and such a creative lens on things that she can take a really fun idea, put a really quirky twist on it, and still make it really compelling. And so the gist of that was, it was a two doctors who played Operation on Halloween, like they were on a date, and it was, whining and dining and playing Operation, and then hijinks ensues. And so maybe we do Operation on real people. Ooh, you should watch it. um, but anyway, so it was from that uh, we got best in city, and won a bunch of awards: best cinematography, best ensemble,
Mhm.
best sound design, like a whole bunch of stuff. And we actually went to Filmapalooza, which is the national or world festival, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that was in LA that year, and we went to that, which was wild. So it was crazy that was like my first intro into the narrative scene. And so people who saw that here locally were like, they started reaching out to me and were like, "Hey, can you be on this film and do a short film here?" And I started getting a little more commercial work, and worked with Bruce Bales on a short film that following summer. And um, kind of from there, it just it doesn't like blow up or anything like that. My career, I mean, but it did really pick up this year. I helped Mediaverse and Century with 5683, a rom com that's coming soon, so keep your eyes peeled. I had a bit part in that. Worked with Brittany and Michael, and they then kind of got me connected with you. I think, did I meet you there on that set? When
Yeah,
when
think
did
so.
we meet? That we have quite the history, but it's whose guess as to when it actually started.
I think that we met. It had to have been on that set.
I thought so. I thought
I had
so.
like heard a lot about you, but never actually met you.
Whatever.
God.
No, but I think it was on that
Yeah.
set.
I was that way with just about anyone in Iowa film. It's like I know your name, I know your work. I've never actually met you, but I really want to.
Yeah, yeah. That and that's becoming more apparent now that it's growing here.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I was on that set, and then I can't remember what the next thing was, but I ended up helping out with Crimson Night, which was another feature that they made and will be releasing at some point in the future.
Very near future.
Very near future. There we go. Can confirm. Uh, and because Jacob hit me up
Man.
on it had to have been 5683, because
Yeah.
I remember you asking. You're like, "Oh, by the way, what are you doing in May? I think it was, right?
It was a Sunday in May. Yeah.
It was in May." And I was like, "I have no idea. I'm kind of doing this thing that like might have me gone. But what's up?" And you're like, "Ooh, do you want to play a part in our?" Oh no, I won't give
What kind of part
everything.
you got?
I won't give that.
Okay,
Oh no,
but
no.
yes, I asked you if you want to do a part.
Oh yeah, you wanted me to do a part, and I was like, "This one. I want to do this one." And so I got to really dive in and go nuts
Oh
with
my
that.
God.
It was so fun.
I was so impressed. I just want to say, like, we were rolling camera, and I just watched you, like, whoa.
I don't mess around.
This guy.
I again, let's just say it's an action film. So I was like, that's my bread and butter, fantasy, sci-fi, and if action's involved, I'm in. And that was that. So,
I just can't wait to share that photo.
oh, it was so cold. The one that the me standing there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Haha, isn't this fun for you, listeners?
Right.
Yeah, I know it's icy. Uh, but anyway, so from there, I had already been cast in a feature film that Michael Meinert is. He wrote and directed and filmed, and so that wrapped. We filmed and wrapped in August, and that is a kind of a dark comedy that. Uh, just given my vibe, I usually get cast as like the woohoo, look at me. Like I'm just like a
The happy dog.
but yeah, I'm just happy to be here, which is true. That's just true of me in general. Um, but I love uh not playing that if I'm being honest, because like it's fun playing those happy-go-lucky, goofy characters. Like there's a whimsy and fun to that, but it's also so fun to play the brooding like mean guy. Like also just my look doesn't really appeal to very much. So when people ask me to play those types of roles, I'm like, yes, I'm in. That sounds so fun, and I get to like people know me as the guy who can play that happy guy, but
Right.
now I can show them that I can do. At least I think I can do the darker stuff and the more serious drama stuff because that's the stuff I love.
Yeah.
There's always room for comedy, but if you can't do that deeper, more grounded stuff, man, like I don't know. I love that the prospect of that, and so I love
Yeah.
playing into that more. And theater is that like
Sure.
you have to be able to play both ends there because you'll have moments, in Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. It's a tragedy, right? But like, man, you have
There's
Mercutio
depth.
come through, and he's like such whimsy, but then you have the drama of the ending that we all know. Um, so like if you're not able to do that, then it's hard to find it's hard to get as much work, which you also can if you're known as that guy, but it's just more fun.
I wanted to comment on that because I saw you playing in Yule Father,
Yeah.
which is another short film from Michael and Brittany at Century.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I look at you, I'm like, this dude's, handsome and happy, and he fits the part of the what we'll get to next. The children's vibrant
Yeah.
character. But then seeing you play a true asshole,
Yeah.
um, and just evil and murderous and violent.
Yeah.
It was impressive and incredible to see, and like what you brought to that role was just really great work. Anyways,
Thank you.
the question is, how did you develop that range for yourself?
Like generally, just
Yeah, how do you access it? I guess is the way to ask that question is,
mm,
because I get that the comedy and the children's stuff is kind of surface.
hmm
You can just be that,
hmm
but then getting deeper into it and like the depths that you would go to, and what I've seen you go to for this upcoming role this weekend, it is fascinating.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, oof. uh, so I think like the big thing that's a blessing and a curse for me is for all you Western California people, I'm a Cancer. But no, I generally though incredibly empathetic and I have I don't like to pat myself on the back, but I do have a unique talent of feeling things for people when they're going through stuff and that sort of thing. Uh, and am a I am good at putting myself in their shoes. And I think that's just like a good skill for life, period. If you can have that sort of like, you can take their vantage point on things, you can really see why they would do something. And to that point, that's what makes some of the best like villains out there is if you're able to watch someone on film who is truly evil, but then you get this sort of backstory into like why they do that and why they think they're justified in those actions.
yep.
If you can be like, damn, maybe I would do the same thing. I don't know. Like it sucks. Like it's not fun to think about, but
Mhm.
you're seeing these these bad people do these things, and you're like, but they think it's to save their family or like it is to preserve whatever. It's like there's always if you can have that sort of reason behind a character, A, that adds more depth to the character, and B, that just makes it way more compelling. And so if you're able to put yourself into that position, you can access that really easily. And so having that kind of empathetic viewpoint on things uh is incredibly useful, and you learn a lot of that in theater. Like
Mm,
the beautiful thing about doing live theater is, you do table reads and you do things like that for film, and you're doing all this prep work. But especially when you're on set, you have the ability to be like, oh, that was a bad take. Let me just take it back, and you just got to do it again.
right.
Live theater, you it's not that you have
Stakes.
one shot, but yeah, it's very high stakes. Your reactions are live. You're not waiting for it to show up on a big theater screen and then seeing how people react. It is there. Like your feedback is right in the moment. So if you're not you don't have it memorized, you don't have your character down, like it's not going to play well. People aren't going to understand the story. They're not going to get why someone's doing something. So that's why you have these intense 2-hour rehearsals at least every day for a
Mhm.
month and a half, because you're doing those character dives and you're asking yourself, like, why is this person doing this thing? Why are they feeling this way? Why are they treating others this way? And you're doing that deep character dive. So like working that muscle out by doing live theater was probably one of the most helpful things I could ever do for my acting career.
Nice.
Uh, and so having that sort of analysis in my back pocket, it's easier for me to take a character that is really compelling and interesting and can do this kind of quick breakdown in my head of like, oh, so my character's name was, do you think I can say the name of my character?
For this weekend?
Yeah,
Yeah.
from the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, his name's Mouth, right? So that already to me implies that he's a mouthy guy, right? So you want to have those. I imagined almost immediately, like if he gets himself into trouble, it's because he runs his mouth too much, which I do that already.
Ooh.
But he because of that, like that has probably messed him up in a lot of ways, and maybe that's the reason why he's a bad guy, right?
Sure.
And so you can kind of capitalize on that, and using that, you can infer that maybe he's mischievous about it, right? So he likes to rib people, and not in a nice way. He likes to push your buttons and
Mhm.
tease you, and goad you into doing things just because he pisses you off. So like you let that, you kind of run with it, really. For me, and you can really improv the hell out of it if you're with the right people. And Brittany is amazing as a director, and she lets you do that if it works for the script.
Yeah, she made room for you. I loved it.
Yeah, and she was amazing, and her and I had a few conversations. And I was like, so what's his deal? Like, is he? Uh, I was like, can he fight? Like, maybe that's why he never fights in this, because he doesn't feel like people deserve to fight him, or is he only a talker, and is he all bark no bite? Like, what's the deal? And so she was giving me a lot of insight, and also leaving a lot of it up to me. Is like, well, what do you think? Like,
Yeah.
what do you think about it? I was like, well, it'd be really cool if he was, he is a fighter, but he knows he can talk his way out of it, or like, if he doesn't have to, um, or push someone's buttons enough that they decide that maybe it's not worth it, and all these things. So, yeah, that's a long way to say, like, having that. My personality helps me with the one end of things, the one side of things, but having that experience on stage and having that sort of mindset of empathy and being able to put myself in the other guy's shoes and understand that, yeah, what they're doing isn't good and I don't condone it, but can you at least understand why they're doing it?
Right.
And that is just the catalyst for figuring out what reasons you can give for why this person's acting a certain way in a scene, So
Nice. I
hopefully
love
that
it.
made sense.
Yes, great answer. I guess this is more for the audience, but I want them to notice a point in this film in
Doing it
Yule
for them.
Father.
Oh,
There's a scene in Yule Father. I won't give the scene away,
Sure.
but it's about you, where it's after you find out that you don't get to finish what you started. And there's a point where it's very on brand for your character. You literally throw a tantrum, and then you did something that made me want to know all of Mouth's backstory.
Okay.
It was in the eyes. It was just a slight facial cue before you turned and talked to the girl. That was like, okay, there's a lot to this dude.
Oh,
It was literally just all in the face, and I was like, that was amazing.
see, now I'm trying to think. Sounds dumb, but sometimes I like almost go into a fugue state, so it's hard for me to remember like what I was doing. Uh, Was it? Did I like go like this?
It was a
Because that I remember.
you did that, and there was this moment of compassion, and like you lost, but you don't want everyone in the room to lose.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean?
So what? Just your question is like, how did I? What?
It wasn't. It
What was the
wasn't a
process
question
for
for
that?
you. It was more. I want the audience to notice that. I
Oh,
want them
sure.
to like read on that, and I want, I guess, maybe comments
Yeah.
on the film.
Do
when
it.
they see
Comment. Do it, nerds. How about that? No. So I guess what I can say about that is, this is and also something I've been learning as a producer and like also helping with the acting side of our film our Alien film we're doing. And I think theater does this really well too, which is probably where I inspire that. It's inspired from. But I find, and I literally have a tattoo of this because it's been a big note for the kid show that I do. But it's also just a good note generally to just slow down, right, and take those moments and like really live in those moments. Because on the editing side of things, the technical side of things, they can always edit out empty space if it doesn't really make sense and cut to different angles and shots and stuff. But as an actor, if you're taking that time and living and you're in that moment like you're the character, you should have this journey in your head. And at that moment, like some pretty big news came my way that totally blindsided me, that was not expected.
Right.
And so how would that a charismatic, and not in a good way, like a charismatic mischievous man react to being blindsided? Well, he would probably act kind of like a child. Like that's not he's not used to being out of control, like not in control.
Yeah.
And because he always does. Like he's the leader of the group. That is his realm, and people listen to him.
Mhm.
Period. And this is the first time that or maybe the first time in a long time that didn't happen. And so it came out of nowhere. And so what would that journey be like? And I'd be like, well, in thinking about it in the moment, it's like, well, I'd be pissed off, first of all. Like I would digest it for a second and be like, what the hell just happened? And then have this spike of rage because like it sinks in. You're like, what the hell? Do that, and then immediately, since he's a leader and a planner, what do I do now? And you have to like that journey needs to happen. It doesn't need to be fast, but it happens in moments, right?
In 5-10 seconds.
Yeah, ish, which seems like forever in a take. Like that seems like a long time. But if you can take that emotional journey and you can bring your body language into that in your face, like that just it gives a lot more depth to the situation outside of what was just said to the person, right? So I know that sounds so highfalutin and corny, but like no, that's what it is. So in that moment, I knew that point had to be, when I was like rehearsing and reading through the script and stuff, I knew that had to be a very specific journey that you see. For once, Mouth isn't Mouth.
Yes.
And he's back to, he almost reverts back to, he regresses, if you will, to a point when he wasn't the leader, and he becomes a little vulnerable. And so like having that sort of vulnerability for that scene, I thought was important. Because, and that was something I talked about with Brittany. I was like, so I see that this thing happens in the end. Does that mean that like he is truly bad?
Right.
And that's where that empathy thing comes in, because
Right.
I was like, I want to say that no, like he isn't, but it depends on what you think. You know, this is a collaborative side of it.
That's why I'm asking the audience too, is because like
Yeah.
I know how I feel about it.
Yeah, and same.
I know how you feel about it, but like this is the great nuance I'm talking about that you gave to this character. Was it's very much up for interpretation.
Yeah, which,
You know?
I mean,
And I guess
hope,
we'll see.
Yeah. The hope is that this will eventually be a
feature length.
film if people pay us. So pay us, please,
We can get some
producers.
producers behind.
Producers, we're call to action, baby. So, ideally, we would make this a feature, and then we could make it like take it to a whole new level, and like that's where I would love to explore that, because I have my ideas, but I haven't read the full the full script. I only know what they had to condense into the one short film. You know?
I imagine. Well, I'll take.
Yeah, let's be careful.
I'll table that. I can't. I'm not going to imagine. That's not my script. No, but yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, applaud you for
thank
the what you brought to that character. It was really cool.
Thank you.
And I hope you continue to bring that to other characters, and you get even deeper characters.
I do too. I mean, and that kind of talks. I said this very briefly in the kind of the beginning of this. That alludes to just kind of my philosophy on acting in general. And this goes beyond that, but like, it's just fun, you know. So like, if you're having fun, you have no inhibitions about taking chances and doing things.
Yes.
And especially in the market that we're in, like we're incredibly fortunate to not have a big studio hanging above our heads and like big dogs telling us like you don't have the money for this. Like we do these things because we love them, right? And having that sort of mentality when you go into a role, and that was especially true with Yule Father for me, is playing a character like that, not something I get to do. So that sounded so fun. And then also it's a can I say what time period it is? I mean, there's trailers and stuff out, so it's pretty obvious. Yeah, it's like a medieval Viking era type film.
Fantasy kind of.
Yeah.
You know.
So classic sort of swords fighting and rah stuff. And I'm like, again, said it for the millionth time. I'm a huge nerd. So I was like, sign me up, baby. So like having that allure, and it just seems so fun. And so you could really just like, get into it.
It's play.
Yeah,
Like, you're playing.
You're truly playing. And that has been my philosophy throughout my whole acting career. It's just only, it's not that old, but like my career, I mean. So having that outlook of being like, I want to do it because it's fun. Like, sure, I might get paid sometimes. That's fine. But if it's fun, like, then I'll do it. Of course. Yeah. Easy. So that's my big philosophy, and that's what got me to.
Yeah, I'll echo that philosophy for myself. Like, I don't do a lot of acting, and I'm not very good at it. But like,
come on, give yourself some credit. We
It's
wouldn't have you in the film if
fun,
you weren't.
man. Like I just like I'll do like DP or AC work or I'll AD, and that's work, but it's work that I love. Acting is like I don't even really necessarily want to get paid for acting because it is just fun and playing for me.
Right.
So yeah, I love your philosophy.
Yeah. And it should be. I think that's just like I think that's lost on a lot of people. Just generally, like they do it because it's like the smart choice, right? Which is a good thing. You should be smart about things. But as far as at least in the creative world, if you're not having fun, like that passion it's hard to make that passion shine when you can't, when you're not having fun, So like, and what's the point? Like we only have so much time around here, So why not make it at least a little fun for yourself? You don't need to be a tortured artist, So yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Make it fun, people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of terrible segues, you brought up a certain children's show
Yes.
that you are attached to now.
Yes.
Um,
Thoroughly.
Tell me everything you can
Everything.
about this. This is kind of big for you. Obviously, it's huge for you, but it's also big for Iowa filmmakers in general. I think that you got a lot of wonderful responses when you went public with this thing, and I think that you created a lot of like hope.
I love that we're just like really teasing this. We're giving it like a minute
this is
before we
gonna
really give it
This is
to
gonna be
them.
the short that we attach to the episodes.
I
People
hope
go and
so.
watch the episode.
Yeah, and so I'll draw it out even longer.
Go ahead.
I don't care. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, so that philosophy of like having fun, really, again, it wasn't a sort of thing of like, I'm not going to seek out being famous. I don't care about being famous. I'm not. Let's be very clear. But in that vein, my agent had sent me an audition a year and a half ago for a children's show called Blippi. And like Malcolm said, I had never heard of a Blippi before. I didn't know if it was like some eldritch being that, spawned on the planet for kids to enjoy, or if it was some, whimsical character, and it was both. No, I'm kidding. It's just the latter. So I had done some research, and the call, the sides were literally like, do you want to have fun? Do you have a theater background? Do you want to skydive? Do you want to bungee jump and all this stuff? And I was like, that sounds cool. I mean, I'll absolutely give it a go. I'll see what's up. And it's a national call. So, and I'm just in Iowa. So like,
Sure.
I had this for a long time in a good way. I kind of had this like blasé attitude where I was like, I'll do my best for this audition and I'll bring me to the table and I'll capitalize on my experience that I had going through like training programs at a camp and a year as a camp counselor, and then
There you go.
in high school working with there was a class called work studies, and we would go to the elementary school and we'd help kids like learn to read. And I was with like the first graders, and this show is for preschool to first grade, second grade ish.
Okay.
That's about the target audience. And so I was like, I have a lot of experience doing that, so like I know how to talk to kids in a constructive way that's gonna they can learn at like every step. So I really capitalized on that. Anyway, so I sent off an audition and was like, I'll never hear back from them again because that's how it always goes. Yeah, yeah. It truly was. It was like that, and like got a callback. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I've never gotten a callback for a national thing before. That's wild. And then that like kind of just kept happening, and eventually it led to last August. They were like, we want to have you for a test shoot. Do you want to come out to LA? And I was like, do I want to? Yeah, that sounds dope.
How many rounds were there?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess
and not
what's the timeline here? What process? What's the
from when I had my first when I got that audition to when I signed my contract, it was almost a year and a half.
Wow.
Almost, but like truly a little over a year and a half from when I got the audition to when I was like went public with it, which was what was it, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Maybe.
So that was it 2 weeks ago? It was a week ago. Oh my gosh, time means
just a week.
Time means nothing. So it's been a long process. So that first test shoot was last August, and then I had a chemistry test in November with Mika, and did that test shoot. Did another one in January of 24. And then they had me out for a 2-week training session, which they aptly call Blippi Boot Camp. A lot of watching Blippi and doing improv and vocal lessons and what else I do? Oh, and movement coaching too. So weird to be catered to in the way that they've treated me so well, and like going from a set out here in Iowa where it's like kind of all hands on deck and you're doing a bunch of different things.
Yeah,
And
I think you moved to C stand like on set several times.
Oh, I do that
Picked up
constantly.
stuff and like moved it around
all
like,
the time.
you
Like I love doing that. Like I love learning about that stuff first of all, but then also I just know that the more help that we have, the faster we'll all get out of here. And not that we want to get out of here, but like after a 14-hour day, you want to get out of here. Like so the more hands on deck, the quicker it goes. They hate that out there, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is so hard for me to get used to. So anyway, that was for 2 weeks. That was a ton of fun. And then we filmed actually our first 2 episodes of the miniseries that they're using to debut me as the character.
Okay.
And at that point, I still didn't even know if I had the part per se. Like it was kind of like it was kind of agreed upon without saying it that like I had the role, because I'd done training and we filmed, like we did a legit episode, and they told me like this is like an episode, like this isn't a test shoot, this is an episode. And I was like, oh, okay, that's wild. And then we got signed, and it was a ton of fun doing that. And it just like it was such a wild roller coaster, and they treated me so nicely and catered to me in every way. Like that was so strange for me to accept because I'm not used to that, and I never will get used to that. So
that's the Midwestern boy.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
It's
like,
so lame, but it's true.
Can I get you a water? Can I get you anything?
Yeah, and I'm like,
no, I'm
I can
fine.
do it
can get my
myself.
own."
Like it's all good. Yeah, it's so weird. But yeah, so anyway, and then I signed my contract in June, and then I had to just like kind of keep it under wraps for almost a little under 6 months.
Yeah.
Waiting to shoot a couple more episodes because it's a vehicle series, Vroom Vroom Vehicle Show, Blippi's Vroom Vroom Vehicle Show. Check it out.
Check it out.
So we did 4 episodes total. A bunch of big partnerships that they wanted to use, and yeah, Monster Jam's already out. We did Monster Jam. That was my very, 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 very first episode.
My nephew loved it.
Which was that's wild. And thank you to your nephew if he ever watches this. Lucas Henry, you made me memorize that. right? Isn't it Lucas?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, whew. You almost made me look so bad, and I was like, anyway, so Monster Jam we did first. That was like my very first episode. So if it's not exactly what you were hoping for, that's why, because I was kind of in the thick of it, and I knew what I was doing, but I was like, ugh. I don't get stage fright much anymore, but that I absolutely did. Because I was like, okay, we're doing it. This is the time. This is it. I guess it's happening.
Yeah.
Malcolm was there. He knows.
Yeah.
It was bonkers.
Enjoyed a monster truck.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Just for my first few episodes, like I've already been able to do some crazy stuff that I would never, ever, ever have been able to do. So I'm like eternally grateful for that. And
Talk about
now
getting
I'm
thrown to
just
the deep
really,
end.
oh baby, kind of. I mean, yeah. People have told me that, but again, it was just fun. So it
Yeah.
was stressful and it was hard, but it was just fun.
Yeah.
And like, and that's like a big part of the show too. Like we're here to have fun and learn. So if you can do those, like you're set.
And the thing is, like, you brought yourself to the table, so you just have to be yourself because that's who they hired.
Yeah. There's discussions of that. It is that. That was a big part of it. Is they had said that they liked kind of my vibe with the character, and they wanted me to bring that to the character, and that will come more too as I do more episodes and I settle more into the role. And I already have, like, personally, I don't like, again, I don't really love to pat myself on the back, but like one thing I am pretty proud of is like as I've gone through this process, I've learned a lot about the character and the fan base and what it takes to at least embody the goals of the character, and like that'll take you where you need to. You don't. It's good to copy the mannerisms and the the voice and the words, the specialty phrases he does, and especially the dances and moves and stuff. Like that's great.
The boot camp stuff.
Yeah, exactly. If you can do that, but you bring the fun and the whimsy and the learning to it, you don't really have to do much more to get yourself to that point of getting the character. But yeah, it's been insane, and I can't wait for more stuff to do. So, Moonbug, please fly me around the world because I will not. I will only impress you. But no, I'm kidding. Not about the travel part or the impress you.
He's not kidding.
But send me around the world.
He's happy
please.
to be here.
But no, I'm just really excited for the projects that'll come from this, and they've been really amazing in being flexible with me and letting me live here in Iowa, so I can still work with my friends and sustain the passions that I have outside of children's media, and let me do shows still and movies where I can, play a teenager who curses or a bad guy or all this stuff, because that's how I got my start, and I don't want to leave that because I love it here.
There's a lot of conversation about like what's on the table, what's not on the table.
Right. And
legally or contractually.
Well, yeah. That's nuance. That's boring. So
okay.
But and I shouldn't talk about it. But the big thing is like they know that I'm an actor, and like I've already released projects and have done projects that are for adults. They know that, and they keep that in mind, and they're totally open for me doing that. I do have to run it by them, so I give them a little breakdown.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're like basically treat it like if it's the intro to your content warning at the beginning of a movie, right? PG-13 for blah blah blah. Basically do that, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds great." Like we can't wait to see it. Like the Alien film, I'll be doing that, and then they're like, "I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be great." And I was like, "I agree." Right? I was like, "I hope they let me do this," and they did because they're amazing. So, with that being said, to any audience who knows me who might eventually know me from Blippi, there's a lot of things that I have done in my acting career that is, for adults. So, like, just be wary that, like, just because you see me in a kid's show doesn't mean you should have your kids watch everything I'm in. So just be aware of that. So
it's true.
But when the kids are asleep and they're not there, you should watch You Father and Wicked Ways of Webster County and my Alien short. You should watch that. Yeah, just not with your kiddos.
This guy's great at plugging. I love this guy.
Is that not what we do here?
This is amazing.
Is that not? Is it in this? Thank you for that. I'm just going like, what? But that was bam.
All right.
See, it was crispy.
So what is the shooting schedule like? Like, is it
for Blippi?
For Blippi, yeah.
it's way crazier for Clayton Grimmer, the actor who does a lot of it right now.
Sure.
It's ramping up for me a lot. Definitely, it's in the fall it got way crazier. It was kind of like I would shoot like a week a month. If you they'd fly me out for 3 or 4 days, shoot a bunch of stuff, shorts, social media, shout outs, a few core episodes, and then our vehicle show, we would do an episode for that. But but no, sorry. But no, in the fall, it just like we had a big thing planned. Stay tuned. That we did. That was absolutely bonkers, like way next level. Monster Jam was amazing, and so much going on. But this was like on a different level. We had that, and then they had me immediately do some core episodes and some shorts, and then like had me home for a little bit. Then I came back for a secondary boot camp to work on stuff more. And then they had me fly out for more episodes. And so like it's picked up a lot this fall.
Yeah.
And especially with my own projects here at home, it's just like been so hectic. But they're so great at like scheduling with me and making sure that I can do my stuff, and then they can also use me for Blippy stuff. So and we'll see what the new year brings. We don't really, I don't know, and I don't know if they have an idea how much they'll use me. So it's it's a work in progress, but it's been great. It's been really busy.
So, being a member of the Iowa filmmaking community, this is big news for obviously for you, but like I think that you've inspired a lot of local people, local filmmakers, just people that are watching and following your journey. What does that mean to you? Like, what kind of message do you want to send to this community?
Oh, well, I mean, it means a lot because I never anticipated this sort of level of attention, so it's really, really strange.
Yeah.
But it's been incredible with like, I don't have, my following is slowly growing, but like people have already from around the world, but also in Iowa, like reached out to me being like, we just found out Blippy lives like near Des Moines, like he's from Iowa. That's crazy. Yeah. That's so cool. And I'm like, yeah, I almost can't believe it myself. Like it's so wild, and to be able to, like, my hometown pride kind of swells up, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it's so fun to give people that sort of like, yeah, I live in the same city as like the guy who plays Blippy, or like I know him, or something. Like that's so cool. Like that's so fun, and to inspire people to, or like I hope it inspires people to, like, how do I say this? I just want people to know that you can be serious about a thing, right? And you should be, depending on what it is, if you're passionate about it. But at the same time, like, as my philosophy with like having fun, like the only reason I got this gig was because I followed the things that were fun and I did what was fun. And I want people to, if I could tell them one thing, and this is for anything, right? It doesn't have to be acting. It doesn't have to be filmmaking. If you do what is fun for you, it'll lead you where you want to be, and it'll take you where you want to go. You just have to like let it happen and enjoy it in the moment. There are gonna be parts that suck. There are gonna be parts that are tough and hard, and you're gonna have to work really hard. But so long as in that difficulty you can find those moments of like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this is so fun. I'm like in the middle of this field freezing my ass off, but like we're making a movie. Like, this is cool. I get to wear an eye patch and carry a sword. That's dope. Like, that's fun. That's just fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't do that at your job at Apple when you get to that point. That's not ideal. But, if you follow your dream and you get to your dream job, because my personal philosophy is you will get to where you want to be if you just do what's fun. And so that I think is the big what I want people to take away. But like, to that point, it also is a lot of responsibility, and that was like a big fear of mine. Is like, and I still worry about that. It's like I want to make people proud and can reference this project that I'm doing and my other projects, and say like, he's someone we want to be like, and I want to I want to be that example and be a positive role model in not just in the kid space, but in just the film world and beyond that. So I try my best to hold myself to that standard, and I feel that responsibility every day, especially now with like
Sure.
this gig under starting to take off. Um, so I think about that constantly. So like that's my goal is to make good stuff that people can be proud of, because I'm already proud of it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And so like I'm putting my all into it and it's a good time. So like I already have bias and I'm like, yeah, I love this project, even though you might not Blippy. I do love that project, but like other projects, people would be like, if they say like, oh, it's okay, I'm like, okay, I had a blast. I love it, you know. So uh, they having that, I totally lost train of thought, but I do that a lot too.
Well, I
Uh,
love that your validation comes internally. Is what I'm doing fun and acceptable to me?
mhm.
Then I'm good.
Yeah,
You know?
because who cares? Who cares? Like, everyone has their own personal preference and opinion. Like, not everyone's gonna love fantasy like I do. Not everyone's gonna love hardcore drama or love a rom com. But like, so there's always gonna be opinions, and that was like a big thing when they were talking about for Blippi. They were releasing it to public. They're like, be ready for comments. Like the internet's the internet. Just don't look at them.
Sure.
There's gonna be haters, and I was I was like, I hear you, I totally hear you, but for me, I have that attitude about, since I've done film already, I already kind of had that attitude, and you especially become used to it doing theater
Yeah.
because you get that live feedback. Um, so I was like, I can't tell you how I'll react when that happens. I hope it's positively, but I have faith in myself that I think I'll be okay, and it has been great. Like, weirdly enough, for as much as human beings like to focus on the negative and how much I sometimes do, I like only have been remembering the positive comments that have come from my release. And like I see the parents who are angry that there's another one or this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, that's totally fine. Like you absolutely can have that opinion, and I only hope that I can eventually make you say like, wow, he actually is great.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so until then, I'm just gonna keep having fun, man. You know, just doing my thing.
I love it.
Yeah. But
All right. So, what are your okay? Two-part question.
do it.
What are your hopes for you in general,
Mm.
future-wise, and then what are your hopes for the immediate future this
Mm.
weekend?
Oh, okay. I'll start with this weekend.
Sure.
This weekend, I mean, Connor and I have put so much time into producing this film, this Alien Lost Transmission. We we did our best to make sure we were as prepared as possible, so everything could be as smooth as possible. Um, because that in the end is going to get us a well fleshed out product that we don't have to worry about doing reshoots or crazy insane editing to make sure something works. Like we've put a lot of time and effort into producing this. I have no doubt that once we get boots on the ground and are doing it tomorrow, we're gonna. I know we're gonna kill it. We've prepped so much that we also did ourselves a lot of favors having it pre-lit and also in one small room. Like there's not much you can really maneuver with there, which is a blessing in our case.
I will say that the the fact that you guys reduced the scope of the story allowed you to kind of like fill it up from within, just like that, just like the set.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you reduced the story, but you went all out on set design and
Mhm.
all out on lighting and production value and cinematography. And honestly, through our table reads, like talent, like
Mm.
you know, the way that you guys are doing this is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's a contained story, but it's like to the max
Yeah.
what it could possibly be. And I just yeah,
Constraint
on
can be an artist's like best friend in this
Yes.
regard, and like
absolutely.
and having those boundaries where it's like you're stuck in this room. What does that mean, right? You have this dialogue that is, you know, it tells this narrative, but like that's all in the confines of this small space or under these circumstances and pressures. Like that can feed a lot more, give you a lot more depth to any part of it, whether you're talking about the set or the actors or lighting, and like that. You can really explore how that constraint affects these things, these facets. And so like we've been having a lot of fun diving into that and, you know, auditioning stuff, meaning like testing stuff out, being like, would this work? Would this lighting make sense? Like all this stuff. So that's a big thing. So my hope for the immediate future is, you know, we make a good film, and I have no doubt that we will. So stay tuned. But um, and then for me in the future, uh, I don't know. Like, I mean, I do have an ultimate goal. I would love to be a voice actor like that. I love doing silly voices and being just a goon who drops into random voices like for certain things, especially depending on like what I'm talking about. Um, and so I would love to put that to an animated character. I grew up watching cartoons and I love playing video games, and so
Yeah.
voice acting, would be so fun. And it's accessible now with technology, and it's um, meaning not just from the technical side of thing or like the setup side of thing, but also being able to do it like remotely and stuff.
Sure.
It's easier to do that. It's not necessarily the best way, but you can do it, as we discovered with COVID. Like that was a big learning curve for the voiceover world.
Yeah.
So I really want to be a voice actor. That's like the main drive. I do not care about being famous or anything like that. I just want to have fun, and I want to do silly voices for some silly cartoon or a video game. Ideally both.
Ideally both.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just here, man. I'm here to have fun. Just doing my thing.
I love it. Anything else? Anything else you want to bring up?
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for letting us use your studio and being so kind and generous to let us do what we do. And yeah, just thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
No
thank you for
problem.
being here.
Yeah, no
Right.
problem.
Ben Mayer.
Woohoo.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.